everyone, it's Hailey, and today I wanted to talk about the book releases that I cannot wait for that are coming out for the rest of 2021. So there have been, from what I've seen, I haven't looked too much into it, but if you are interested in any of these books, I would recommend pre-ordering them as soon as you are able, because there have been some supply chain issues in the publishing industry, so they're predicting that things are going to be sold out and stuff. I'll try and find an article if I can and link that down below so you guys can learn more, but that's kind of what has been happening. There's been some issues. I know I've kind of noticed it with like books are sold out, and it's weird because usually books never sell out, so I do believe that that is actually a thing that's happening. So I'll try and find some more information and link it down below. But today I just wanted to talk about some of the releases that I am really looking forward to for the rest of the year. I feel like most of the most exciting releases for me personally have already come out, but there are definitely some that I still am looking forward to checking out. So that being said, if you are interested in more bookish content, don't forget to click that subscribe button and then click that bell icon so you'll be notified whenever I post. I post new videos 2 to 3 times a week, and let's just get into it. So I just wanted to take a second to thank the sponsor for today's video, NordVPN. So just in case you guys aren't familiar with it, NordVPN is a VPN service, which is a virtual private network. Essentially, that means it's a service that protects your internet connection and privacy online, which is something that I think everyone could use. They create an encrypted tunnel for your data so you can protect your online identity and also be safe while using public Wi-Fi networks. This also can be extremely helpful, and I use it a lot for the purpose of being able to browse content that would usually only be available in a country that is not Canada. Usually it's the States. For some reason, certain YouTube videos won't be available, so I like to use it so then I can access more content. It's super easy to use. You connect using one click, or you can even connect with 0 clicks by turning on auto connect. There's also more than 5,300 servers in 60 countries, so you pretty much have the opportunity to use it everywhere, and it is also available on up to 6 devices. You can use it on every major platform such as Windows, Linux, Mac OS, iOS, Android, and even your Android TV will support NordVPN. NordVPN just offers you some peace of mind when browsing the internet, which for me is super important, and it also opens a lot of doors, which is amazing. So if you guys were interested in checking out NordVPN, which I recommend that you do, you can go to www.nordvpn.com/bookland or use the code Bookland, and that will give you a 2-year plan plus 4 additional months at a huge discount. So thank you so much to NordVPN for sponsoring today's video. You can also check the link down below to take advantage of that deal. I'm doing this video later than I expected to, so these first couple of books are actually already out. They came out this past Tuesday because books come out on Tuesday, if you didn't know that, but I still wanted to mention them because I am really excited for them. So the first one is the Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This came out this past Tuesday, September 7th, and I cannot wait to get my hands on a copy of this. It is the sequel to, I can never remember the title, The Inheritance Games. I always want to say like the Hawthorne Games or something like that, or the Hawthorne Inheritance. I don't know why that's happening, but it is the sequel to The Inheritance Games, which came out last year, and everyone was going really wild for it, and I ended up picking it up and actually really liking it. So it's a mystery sort of story, very different than other things that I've read before. It's essentially following this girl who, she's coming from pretty much nothing. She has been struggling to make ends meet and provide for herself, and then she ends up inheriting a massive fortune from this billionaire who died, and she has to go to his estate and live there with his family who were left with nothing, and everyone is wondering who she is and why she got his fortune. So it's kind of like riddles, sort of like Clue a little bit, where you're following along and trying to piece everything together. And there were some answers in the first book, but mostly I was left with even more questions. So I'm really looking forward to getting some more answers in this second installment. I'm not sure if it's just a duology or what, but either way, I'm really looking forward to reading this one. The next book is The Bones of Rune by Sarah Rawley. This book sounds just like everything that I would love. It's about an African tightrope walker who is performing in Victorian London. So as such, she's really used to being the spectacle of colonial curiosity, but there's actually a little bit of a magical element to it because she's harboring this secret, which is that she can't die. She is unable to die, and obviously that brings about a lot of have questions and things, but I think that the setting for this sounds incredible. The concept sounds very interesting to me, and I just can't wait to get my hands on this one. Honestly, the second that I saw it and heard about it, I was like, yes, I need this absolutely now, which is why, even though it just came out this past Tuesday, I did still want to mention it because I'm really excited for it. Next is For All Time by Shanna Mills. So this is coming out September 28th, and it is described as like a mix of The Sun Is Also a Star and Outlander. I've read The Sun Is Also a Star and really loved that one. Outlander I haven't read yet or seen the TV show actually, but I do get where that comparison is coming from, because this is about two lovers who are fated to repeat their love story across different lifetimes and centuries. So it's through like civil wars and revolutions and everything. They keep on finding each other and having their love story play out, and they are trying to finally put an end to that. So I feel like this seems like a concept that I've never really heard of before. It seems very unique, really interesting, and I feel like it's going to be like romantic but also extremely sad. So I'm interested to see like how it's going to be written, how many different lifetimes we'll get to see, if it's going to be a past and present sort of thing. I'm not really sure, but I definitely am so intrigued by this. Next is Vesper Team by Margaret Rogerson. This book is coming out October 9th, and it is the third book by this author. So her first book is An Enchantment of Ravens, and then her second book was Sorcery of Thorns, and I read both of those and I did actually really like them. She writes fantasy stories, and I find that they're like very fun. They're nothing spectacularly unique, but there's nothing wrong with that. I think they're really well written and I have enjoyed them. So Vesper Team seems like a very interesting story as well. It's about a teen with mythic abilities. She is training to be a Grey Sister, which is a nun who they bless the bodies of the deceased so then their spirits can go and be at peace. So basically they're protecting the world from spirit. But then their convent ends up being attacked by possessed soldiers, and she ends up awakening an ancient dark magic, or I think it's actually an ancient dark being, in order to defend it. So obviously that's gonna have some consequences, but this seems like a kind of like Halloween-y sort of fantasy story. So I will probably try and actually read this in October. I'm very intrigued by it, the whole convent Grey Sister thing. I feel like there's going to be a lot of mythology in this world, and I am just very interested in it. Next is another sequel. I think it's the only other sequel that I have on here, but that is Kingdom of the Cursed by Carrie Maniscalco. So Carrie Maniscalco, this is her new series. She's the author of the Stalking Jack the Ripper series, and this is the sequel to Kingdom of the Wicked, which I read last year, and honestly it's like the perfect Halloween read, perfect for that time of year. It's dark, it's creepy, it deals with demons and death and lots of murder mystery, all of those things, very gothic story. So I definitely would recommend that for around Halloween, but I am going to need to refresh my memory on what happened in the last book because I don't remember at all. I remember really liking it, but I don't remember exactly what happened. And now that the sequel is coming out, obviously I'm going to have to remember what happened in it, but I am excited for the sequel. It was a story that I really enjoyed the characters and the world so much that it is one that I want to continue with. Next is Within These Wicked Walls by Blackwood, which is coming out October 19th. This is an Ethiopian-inspired fantasy retelling of Jane Eyre, which seems so cool. So I feel like most of the books that I've talked about today are kind of like on the creepier side. I don't know if it's just like publishers wait until around Halloween to release those books, but that seems to be the case, at least with the list that I have here. So this seems very interesting to me. It is about an exorcist, and she's hired to cleanse households of the devil's eye, and then she ends up getting hired by this guy and realizes that it's going to be her biggest job yet. There's a lot darker and deeper things going on that she's going to need to figure out. So I love this like a ghosty sort of retelling of Jane Eyre. It seems very fitting and really interesting. Next is Bright Ruined Things by Samantha Coho, which is coming out on October 26th. So Samantha Coho has another book, but I haven't gotten the chance to pick it up yet, although it is one that interests me. I forget exactly what it is, and I can't even picture the cover right now, which is very rare for me, but she kind of writes historical fictions with a little bit of a fantasy twist, and this is no exception. So this is set in the 1920s, which I love anything 1920s, and it's actually also a Tempest retelling. So it's a retelling of Shakespeare's last play. It's set on an island and it follows May, the main character, who is living with the wealthy Prosper family. And the Prosper family, they control all of the island's spirits and everything and all of the magic, but a lot of questions start to arise as there's this party that is happening and then spirits start to inexplicably die. So I have actually read The Tempest, but it was a while ago. I decided to read it one summer and I remember very little of it, so I might kind of refresh my memory on it a little bit, but I have never read a retelling of it, so this seems like a very cool one. Next is You Can Go Your Own Way by Eric Smith, which is coming out November 2nd. So I read an Eric Smith book, I believe it was earlier this year, or it was late last year. I can't quite remember, but I think it was this year, and that is Don't Read the Comments. So that book dealt with gamers and the online community and how women are treated, and especially women of color, and it was really well done. So now that he has a new book coming out, I am definitely eager to check it out. This book follows two characters, Adam and Whitney, and they're kind of on opposing sides of the spectrum because Adam, he has this pinball arcade that he loves going to, and it's like his last connection to his father. And Whitney, she has been running the social media accounts for her family's company that turns these little shops like that into gaming cafes, which Adam really doesn't like. He finds them lifeless and soulless, and they're actually planning on doing that to his pinball arcade that he goes to all the time. So obviously there's going to be some conflict there. I'm not sure if it's going to be an enemies to lovers sort of deal because I feel like it could potentially, but not too sure. But I definitely do want to read more about this author, so I know I will be picking this one up because I really enjoyed his writing. Next is You've Reached Sam by Justin Tao, and this is coming out on November 2nd as well. And this book reminds me a lot of one that I talked about in my last book haul, but also it reminds me of the book that I said that one reminded me of. So it's a book that I read way back in the day. I think it was one of those like MTV books. So it was I Heart You, You Haunt Me, and this reminds me of that a lot. So it's about the main character. She had everything planned out. Her and her boyfriend were going to just have the perfect life after high school, but then he actually ends up dying. So she has been left very distraught by that, obviously, and she decides to call him to hear his voicemail for the last time. But she is just wanting to hear his voice again, but he actually ends up picking up. So she has a limited time, a limited connection with him, and this is all about like what she does with that time and how she is dealing with that. I feel like this is going to be so sad, but it could be a really good story as well, and I definitely want to read this one. And the final book that I wanted to talk about is Skin of the Sea by Natasha Bowen, which is coming out November 9th. This is described as Children of Blood and Bone meets The Little Mermaid, so it's a mermaid story, and it is this mermaid who ends up fighting against the gods to save this boy who is thrown overboard. So she ends up going against these ancient decrees and jumping in and saving him, and to make amends for that, she must go on a journey to meet the supreme creator. But she discovers as she's with this boy longer that he knows more than he really should, and he isn't exactly who she thought he was, so there's definitely a little bit of a mystery there. I have read a few mermaid books and I do really like them, and this one seems very different and really cool, so definitely excited for it. Okay, so those are the new releases that are kind of sticking out to me for the rest of 2021. I probably forgot some because honestly whenever I do these videos I seem to forget some, but these are definitely the ones that I feel like I'm going to try my hardest to pick up if I haven't pre-ordered them already. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please let me know what book you are most excited for that is coming out in this latter half of 2021, and I will see you guys in a new video soon. Bye!